So today we continue this 1D optical waveguide. Sometimes it is called planar optical waveguide. And so situation is like this. Planar means you should have a material system like this. Two interfaces will be there, and probably we can make little bigger this one so that understanding will be better. So let us consider something like this. Okay, so this is the two interface, and we have this media. This is actually extended something like this. We can say something like this. Okay, and we can have refractive index N1, N2, and N3. So three medium, and we can just consider that something like this. I can do axis. I can define this is your G axis, and this can be written as your X, and here so you can write outward direction, because you have to say X, Y, Z. So outward direction, I just put a dot here, that is actually Y axis. Okay, and the coordinate, if you see along X direction, we just put G 0 here, and this length actually you can consider D. Thickness of this material is N1, and then you can say that the condition imposed N1 greater than N2, and that can be greater than or equal to N3. So it can be other way also. N1 should be greater than N3 greater than N2. That means N1 should be the highest among all the three refractive indices. So it can be considered N2 is higher than N3, or N3 can be higher than N2, or they can be equal also. Okay, these are the three conditions can be there. And we want to study that if at all total internal reflection taking place, then what is the condition? Is in the last class we were discussing that whether all angles satisfying total internal reflection in both the interfaces can satisfy guidance or not. That was the question we started discussing in the last class. So we'll continue from there. So suppose you have a point of total internal reflection, we decide here. Let us consider that something is hitting here like this. So this is your ray is coming here, and then total internal reflection takes place. It will be going like this, and then here also total internal. So this is the first total internal reflection, I can say that TIR, and then another TIR taking place, and then it comes like this, and then again total internal reflection, it should go something like this. Okay, so I can show the ray like this way it is going, and we can say that this is your so-called theta. We define that as theta I. Okay, theta I, and then obviously this value also theta I, and you can always say that this would be also theta I. That is true irrespective of the relations you are defining here. Okay, this theta I, they are same. That is actually parallel line whenever they are coming. That is the thing. And total internal reflection taking place means you should think that law of reflection, that means theta I should be equal to theta R. Okay, so this information we do have. Now I want to see that whether all theta I which is actually greater than all theta I greater than theta C L and theta C U, theta C L and theta C U. So if this is the case, then total internal reflection taking place, where we can say that theta CL equal to sine inverse of N2 by N1, and theta CU equal to sine inverse of N3 by N1. N2 by N1 and N3 by N1. Is that okay? So now we know that one way we can say that this theta, we can just write here theta CL is greater than theta CU if N2 greater than N3. So otherwise, if N3 greater than N2, then we can have theta CU greater than theta CL. So in that case, if theta CL is the highest among these two, so I can say that the total internal reflection condition will be satisfying if only this condition is satisfied. If theta is greater than theta CL, obviously it is greater than theta CU as well. Okay, so clear? So I am considering N2 is higher. So N2 is higher means lower is higher. Fine. So far so good. Now what we have to consider that when this total internal reflection happening, we know that there will be some kind of phase change takes place at point A, for example, and let us consider this is the B point. Okay, so if I just try to see what is the phase change takes place at A and what is the phase change takes place at B because of the total internal reflection. Can anyone tell? At A, you know that expression, right? So what is the phase change?
Phi equal to tan inverse. It should be
2 times tan inverse, right?
Yeah, 2 times tan inverse.
Somewhere this one.
Yeah.
This is the for T polarization and this is for TM polarization, right? So that means this phase, whenever we are considering, we cannot ignore the polarization because this derivation comes through boundary condition, continuity in the boundary condition. So if I ask you what is the phase change taking place upon total internal reflection, you must know what is the polarization. So we have to decide first which polarization we go for. Okay, so from this thing we can just say that polarization, to decide polarization, we know that electric field can have normally 3 components, right? Ex, Ey and Ez. And similarly, magnetic field can have also 3 components: Hx, Hy, Hz. Okay, now if I just go back to the previous figure here, now in this type of situation, so it is highly possible that it is propagating in this direction, but your field components, that means electric field can have X component, Y component, Z component, everything, but also magnetic field is that. But you have to ensure that when light is propagating in this direction, for example, this is given, that means I have shown the ray, just a ray, I have shown in the XZ plane, right? If I if my wave is propagating in XZ plane, if the K vector is in the XZ plane, so in that case, I am sure that I have the electric field and magnetic field should be perpendicular to that wave vector. Okay, electric field and wave, because we are considering homogeneous medium. So this is actually N1 medium that is homogeneous entire 0 to D section. And for D greater than x equal to D greater than x greater than D, that is also homogeneous medium. And x less than 0, that is also homogeneous medium with refractive index N2. Okay, so this is all our homogeneous medium we are considering. And interface we are also considering very perfect. No roughness, nothing. That is actually ideal situation we are considering for the moment. And we are also considering that sigma equal to 0 for all these three medium. Okay, and one more assumption we are considering here, because I have to consider the polarization. I should, all these things we should keep in mind, that what we are assuming for this discussion. If these assumptions is deviated a bit, then you cannot use this, whatever I am discussing. So one assumption is that homogeneous medium, non-conducting dielectric material medium, and transparent, of course, completely transparent. So the energy of electromagnetic wave or photon energy should be lower than the band gap of the material. Okay, band gap should be very wide, you can consider. Okay, and another one thing is that, you see, we consider x greater than D, or this is actually, this side is x greater than equal to D we are considering. There one material medium is there. Now this interface, what happens in the y direction? When we consider this is a planar waveguide, so we call it as a planar waveguide, right? This is a planar optical waveguide, 1D optical waveguide. So we are sketching a line in the xz plane. This is z axis, xz plane. This is a line also xz plane. K vector also we are showing in the xz plane. Now if I ask you the questions, do you need any type of assumption what is happening along y direction? Along y direction, is there any finite length you have to consider or not for planar waveguide? Anyone? When I say planar optical waveguide or 1D optical waveguide, I have shown in one dimension, right? I am considering that one dimension confinement. 1D means one dimensional confinement. That's why I have the interface here and here. So do we need to consider anything along y direction? This is the y direction. This is a vertical direction. So vertical direction, is that dimension, or for example, we have considered along x direction is D. Z direction we are considering for the moment infinitely extended. What about y direction? Anyone can answer?
Much less than D.
Yajit?
Yeah, it should be smaller than D.
Jet? It should be some finite. You mean to say that should be finite, right? Along y direction?
Yes, very small, smaller than D.
Smaller than D?
Yes.
That is planar waveguide. We are talking about 1D optical waveguide. 1D waveguide means we are only concerned about confinement along x direction. Y direction confinement we are not considering. What is happening along y direction? I don't know.
Sir, I think y direction should be in some small finite length, because our propagating vector k, perpendicular to this we have electric field component and magnetic field component.
Right.
So one have to be there in y direction such that we can get that 3D combination.
No, I want to just study 1D optical waveguide theoretically. My point is that I want to understand 1D optical waveguide. What is the mode, what is the dimensions, etc. I need to understand. And I have shown 1D optical waveguide means I should be concerned only any restriction along one direction. One direction I have shown that there is a boundary at x equal to 0 and another boundary is x equal to D. In between, for x less than equal to D and greater than equal to 0, that is the so-called medium where N1, right? Refractive index, which N1 is greater than rest of the thing. So that is considered as a core. So that condition, this N1 within x equal to 0 to d, and this condition alone gives you that there is a chance that electromagnetic wave, if it is somehow launched in such a situation so that it can happen total internal reflection like a point like A and point like B, that means it can be trapped along x direction. So I can say that beyond x equal to d, x greater than d, I can consider that electric field either, because it is total internal reflection in that direction, either it is exponentially decaying or it is zero, nearly zero here. And similarly, when x is less than equal to 0, you can consider that field will be exponentially decaying in the bottom direction. That is what condition for the total internal reflection, right? So I can ensure that along x direction it is confined. But in the y direction, I have to consider, for understanding purpose here, practically in the z direction it is not also infinitely extended, right? In this direction it is, you want to actually guide light along z direction, right? And y direction, I can consider whatever happening. I don't need to care about that. In other words, I have to consider that along y direction it is infinitely extended as well. It is y direction also infinitely extended, I consider. But that is practically impossible. Any point along z direction or y direction infinitely cannot be extended infinitely for practical device, right? But for at least we can say that that direction, it should be much higher than d, should not be less than d, of course. Along y direction, that dimension you are considering is much higher than the d. Whatever you are saying, that is opposite actually. You have to consider it's a larger extent in that direction. So such that we can consider with respect to d, y direction, it is also infinitely extended. So basically you were just considering slab type sandwich, infinitely extended slab of n3 and n2 is there. In between another slab also infinitely extended in the yz plane, that is actually sandwiched, thickness d. Okay, so that is fine. Now if this is the situation, and if I say that we need to consider your field direction. So in the field direction, you know, whenever I consider phi TE, we have just, let me write down the phi TE. Phi T equal to, I think minus sign will be there, right? 2 tan inverse n2 square root of n1 by n2 square sine square theta I minus 1, right? So that is actually your numerator, and denominator is n1 cos theta I. And then we know that phi Tm should be equal to minus 2 times tan inverse, and then here actually n1 square root of n1 by n2 square sine square theta I minus 1, sorry, minus 1. Oh, that is actually, I am hitting on the border. Okay, so let me clean this thing. So I can write here phi Tm minus 2 times tan inverse n1 by n2 square sine square theta I minus 1 divided by n1 cos n2. I think this is n2 cos theta I. So that is phi Tm, right? If you just want to verify, you can just, whatever we have derived earlier, you just go back and check. Phi Te, yes, n2 cos theta I, n1 cos theta I. And this is n2 and this one n1. Phi Tm is n1 and phi T E equal to, that is n2. So T equal to n2 there, right? Numerator it will be n2 multiplied, and square root term is same. So that is perfectly written here for TE, that is n2. Fine. So this is considered for if the polarization is TE. TE means with respect to this figure, what would be the electric field for TE?
So y direction, y.
Yes. So because TE case, that should be tangential. Electric field should be tangential, right? So I can consider electric field. Suppose you are considering like this: 0, EY, 0. Only Y component will be there, and magnetic field will be, that will be in the XZ plane. It should have HX, 0, and HZ. So that will be actually TE polarization. You can consider E field with having Y component, and H field can have X component and Z component. Then you can satisfy that light is propagating in this direction. So H is in the XZ plane and Y is in the Y plane. So that will be actually, sorry, E is the Y plane. So that can be TE polarization. And when I'm talking about TM, then I should have E field will be opposite, right? So that will be, it will have X component and Z component. So that means E field is in the XZ plane, and H will be along the, yeah. So this is, so whenever you can assume, this is actually, if you can assume that your electric field is in the XZ plane, if that type of situation you can create electric field such that electric field is in the XZ direction and magnetic field is in the Y direction. That type of direction, that type of polarization we will be calling as a TM mode, TM polarization. We just write simply TM polarization in this type of situation. And here we will be calling this as a TE polarization. This is whatever I am talking about 1D optical waveguide or planar optical waveguide. But it can happen that there can be mixture of two. So if I have a field, suppose you have this plus this, that means you can have EX component is there, Z component, EY component is also there, HX, HZ and HY, all the components are there. I think some, so you can imagine superposition of two fields. So one is T and another TM. So that superposition of two fields means ultimately when you measure electric field or magnetic field, it will give you the total field. So that time you have to see what is the direction, their angle, etc., so that you can actually decompose into two polarization. Same field, but you can decompose that one field you can consider like a TE polarization, another you can find out TM polarization. This set you can divide. Okay, I can treat them separately. I can just pick up X component, Z component of electric field and Y component of magnetic field, and I can consider that is as a TM polarization. And from the same field, I pick up Y component, X component, Z component, that can be considered as a TE polarization. This is the practical situation when you are doing some kind of mathematical analysis. But in other words, you can say that suppose you have only this type of situation, this is actually zero, nothing is there like that. Only these components are there, first component. Then we can call that just TE mode is having total internal reflection. And if it is conversely, if it is like this, only these components are there, then we will call that as a TM polarization. Is that clear? Right? Now let us see. So I know that every total internal reflection, it undergoes for TE polarization this much phase. If you know the angle, if you know N1, N2, then you can find out what is the phase happening, phase change happening. Same thing, every TM polarization, if you just consider this, then you can have, you can calculate for that polarization what is phase change is happening. So if it is a mixture of that, so upon total internal reflection, you can see the phase change will be different. After reflection, they will be delayed. Two components will be delayed upon reflection if they are actually different. This value and this value can be different because it is N1 by N2 and this is N2 by N1. They can be different. So when total suppose a mixture of T and TM polarization happening on the interface and both are undergoing total internal reflection, before that if they are in phase, after reflection you can see they are going out of phase because reflection can cause two different phase change for both the polarization. Okay, so that is how you can create some kind of delay between two polarization. So before that, you may not need to have that. Okay, they are actually mixture of two polarization, but once it is reflected, you can see that okay, they are actually behaving like a two eigenmodes, two different solutions type things with their phase delay. Any question up to this point? If not, I just ask you one more question. Okay, I can just discuss next issue. So I know that what is the phase change upon this total internal reflection A is happening and what is happening for B. Let us restrict ourselves first for the TE polarization. So now if you see what is happening, why light is going this with this angle and coming back like this. Reflection is understandable, total internal reflection. What is the reason that light is propagating with an angle theta I? Because it has actually one x component and one z component is there. So if I just consider that k1, because it is medium 1, k1 is the wave vector here in the medium 1, then k1 must have x component and you will have k1 z component also is there. So when I just represent this one as a k1 vector, that means, and this k1 vector is in the xz plane, so it has x component as well as z component. So as long as it is propagating in this direction to point A, I think those components not having any change, they are constant. They are propagating like that, right? So anywhere you just consider at this point, if you just see what is the component z component, that will be k1z. What is the x component? That will be k1x. Another point, if you just consider here, same components will be there. But upon reflection, total internal reflection, what is happening here? For this, suppose this one is the coming back, this vector. So for that, what is happening for the x component and y component?
The
Sir,
phase
X
change.
component
So
flipping.
k1x will become minus k1x. But k1z? So if you just
Remains same.
decompose, if you decompose here, this will be your k1z. And this will be your same k1x. But direction changed. That's why it is reflecting back, downward. It is coming downward. So that means upon total internal reflection, our tangential component is not changing as discussed before. K1z, K1z, same direction it is happening. But normal component, when it is within the medium I am considering, after total internal reflection, that is actually undergoing some phase change. That means it is reverse direction. K1x is in reverse direction. That is the reason actually it is taking this angle, reflection. And we know that since it is total internal reflection, K2x here, if you just think about K2x, that means x direction component in the top cladding region, that should be imaginary. That's why you will see that total internal reflection, some exponential decay in the upper boundary, right? So again, whatever it is coming here, at this point total internal reflection happening, here also if you see the, so this is not K2, this is K3, right? That's a medium 3. And this will be K2x. In this medium, if you use the x component of the K vector, that is actually will become imaginary. That's why it will be exponentially decaying. But within that, I can see that K1x, it is actually directing towards positive x-axis, and this K1x here directing along negative x-axis. So since the longitudinal direction, whatever I am talking about, this K1z remain unchanged here at this point, first point, point A, point B, K1z does not change. But K1x, you have positive component, you have negative component. So if I forget for the moment that there is a longitudinal direction K1z is there, only I'm just considering that that is only longitudinal direction. If I see along z direction, you have only positive direction, z component is there. But as far as I'm considering x direction, inside the waveguide, I have two counter propagating component is there. K1x in the positive x direction and minus K1x, that means in the negative direction. So if I just only considering the factor of electromagnetic wave propagating along x direction in the wave vector you are considering, so that means two counter propagating wave is there. So this is K1x and this is K1x this direction. So you know any wave vector we are considering that it has a forward propagating and backward propagating. It is like a this component actually, this interface treating this component as if it is like a mirror for K1x. Right? Electromagnetic wave just falling normally, and if it is a mirror, it is coming back completely. Right? So you have two counter, if two mirror is there and electromagnetic wave it is propagating between these two mirror, that means it will go back and forth. That you can imagine some kind of what? Some kind of
A standing wave, sir. A standing wave.
there will be some kind of standing wave creation will be there. So always it will not be standing wave, right? So let me take you to another concept. I think you know that when suppose you have a two mirror, just one example here. Yep, one mirror and another mirror is there and some length is there. So some wave will be just a standing wave. It will be like this, right? Okay, it is not correctly. So red one maybe you can consider as a forward propagating wave, and let us consider backward propagating wave will be like this. So you just ignore that amplitude. I'm just sketching not correctly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. My sketch is not good, but you can imagine that. So that means I can say that I have one wave propagating like this, sinusoidal wave, I just consider, and then after reflection, the black one coming back, okay, like this. So this is a standing wave, right? So that means you will have some kind of, this is called node or antinode. That is actual antinode, and this is node, right? So there will be node, antinode, that is, you know what is the concept of the standing wave, right? So that means if this is length L, the standing wave will be created if, only if L equal to
Integer multiple of lambda.
L-
2 times L equal to lambda, right?
Sir, phase shift should be 2 pi.
Let us consider that in the mirror no phase shift. So standing wave will be generated only if 2L equal to m lambda, right? Round trip phase, round trip should be 1 lambda, integer multiple of lambda. So lambda by 2, L should be lambda by 2 m. That is the resonance condition, right? M is the integer. M equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, so on, right? Am I correct? This is a standing
sir.
wave.
Yes,
Standing
sir.
wave, yeah. So length should be, if it is lambda by 2, length is just lambda by 2, then that wavelength will be resonating. Standing wave will be created, something like this. This type of standing wave will be created. Okay, it is going and coming back. This is lambda by 2, and then you can go for one more lambda by 2, and so on. That will be actually condition for the standing wave, right? Or you can say that this you can write a little bit differently. What you can write? 2 times L by lambda equal to m, right? Now you multiply 2 pi and you multiply 2 pi both side. So left hand side what we get? 2 pi by lambda times 2L equal to 2m pi. Is that correct? 2 pi by lambda, what is that actually?
Beta.
Beta or k, we write propagation constant. So k times 2l, that should be 2m pi. So this is the condition for any standing wave, right? That means the wave vector times round trip path, this is 2l means round trip path, should be integer multiple of 2 pi. Then it is resonance condition. I started from this, but ultimately this is the condition in terms of wave vector. If I don't know lambda, just wave vector I know, that means wave vector. Wave vector means per unit length, how much phase shift you are acquiring. So you are going for a round trip. So you are traveling and coming back. If it is reproducing itself by acquiring 0 phase or 2 pi phase shift, then it is a standing wave. So I think this is clear, right? So that means if I go back here, this figure, I have k1x this direction and k1x negative direction. So only if I consider the x component, the round trip, it will be consistent. It should be consistent. This type of things will be consistent if round trip phase because of the k1x is 2 pi integer. 2 pi multiplied by integer. You are getting that? So suppose k1 is known to you. K1 is known. What is that? 2 pi by lambda times n1, right? This is k1. It is a vector, right? K1 it is known. But you know this k1 is having some angle theta I with respect to x-axis. So what would be the value of k1x? Two pi by lambda n1, and then what would be k1x?
Cos theta I.
Cos theta I. So k1x component, because I know that this is actually given, na? So this is actually theta I. If this is k1, just cos theta I. That's clear. So I have just written that one, k1x equal to this one. Similarly, I can write k1 jet will be equal to 2 pi by lambda n1 sin theta I. Okay. Now I will come back to this one little later. Let us concentrate on this. So I have a wave vector component along x-axis, this one. And I know that this component has positive value as well as negative value. So k1x, I see inside the waveguide there are two components. Along x direction, positive x direction and negative direction. So that means if I only concentrate on k1x, that means I have two counter propagating wave. So two counter propagating wave means I can consider that wave is going and coming back with a reflection, and in that case I can say that k1x multiplied by 2d. Is that correct? That means k1x going d length and coming back d length. And total internal reflection is actually changing phase. That phase is changing only for normal. That's why normal is coming back to other direction, right? So we write here minus phi u minus phi L. Why minus? Normally in the textbook, it is actually written like a minus sign. Why, you know? Because when I express this one, phi t or phi tm, this minus sign we don't write. We just simply consider phi t and phi tm with positive sign. But you know, inherently their negative sign is there. So when I am writing like this, I am just considering phi whatever phase change because of the total internal reflection happening in the upper one and lower one, they are actually positive value I am taking, not minus sign I am including. That minus sign I am just writing here. That is the textbook normally they use, that's why I am writing. But whenever I am writing phi u and what is the expression of phi u and phi l, that time that's a 2 tan inverse. You will be writing phi will be 2 tan inverse and something like this we will be writing. So that means I have this x component round trip phase because of the path is k1x multiplied by 2d, because k1x is the path length, phase constant, right? Per unit length, how much it is happening. So for round trip 2d. But for round trip, you see, after starting from here, if you start from here at this point, TI, total internal reflection, you are just happening here, right? So this point may be just origin. We just put a origin at O, where I have written O. So from that point, if you just say after total internal reflection, it is going like this, and then one total internal reflection happening here. So that is, maybe we can consider TR1, and here also it is happening TIR2. So that means you have one total internal reflection at A and another total internal reflection taking place at B, then only you complete the round trip. So for a round trip, you need one time going x direction up to D, coming back another D, and then two total internal reflection at point like A and B, then it completes the round trip. So keeping that in mind, I say that the total phase shift, whatever I am getting, that k1x because of the path, and one total internal reflection in the upper, and then total internal reflection lower. If this one is exactly equal to 2m pi, then you will have some kind of standing wave for the x component. And you can say that this type of wave will be traveling without any destructive interference, consistent. So after coming back, k1x going and coming back k1x, and then total internal reflection, whatever phase you are including, and if they, after one round trip, they acquire 2 pi times 2 pi phase or 2 pi times integer phase if you get, then in that case you get your consistency. So that is the second condition, basically what I was talking. So first condition is that both interface, it should satisfy total internal reflection, and the second condition, this is your second condition of the guidance. First condition is total internal reflection, and the second condition is this one. And k1x, I know that what is k1x, we know that that is 2 pi times lambda n1 multiplied by 2d. No, in between what I missed here? k1x, what is the value of k1x? Cos theta I, that is k1x. This is actually k1, this is actually k1, and k1x means cos theta I, right? And then you multiply 2d, 2 times round trip, and then you have your phi u, that is also, you have theta I dependent, minus phi l, that is also theta I dependent. If that is actually happening 2m pi, then that particular theta I, if you get a solution for theta I, say theta I m, I write theta I m, if you get a solution from this, then that will be a that will fulfill the second condition. So now, do you get theta I is a continuous or continuous band of solutions or discrete solution? If you solve this equation, will you get a band of theta I? Normally, my question was whether this theta I can be greater than theta c u, right? Theta c u and less than pi by 2. So all the angles will satisfy total internal reflection for sure. But the second condition when I put in, that time I see that this value m is actually deciding. M can go, say m equal to 0. It can be 0 phase or 2 pi phase means 1, or it can be 2, it can be 3, and so on. It is an integer including 0. So once you put m equal to 0, you get a solution of theta I. And maybe you are getting that solution is theta 0, I0. And m equal to 1, then you are maybe getting theta I 1. M equal to 2, you can get another solution, theta I 2. Right? So that means you can have, how many solutions you can have for theta I?
So infinite.
Infinite number of solutions you can get. Okay, so second condition, it is giving you that infinite number of solutions, but they are not continuous. They are discrete values. If you solve this equation, you will get discrete values. So that means you have certain angle. This is a very rough model actually. In practice, it is, you have to deviate, you have to think a little bit differently, but this is straightforward analysis. It says that not all angle will give you a guided light, even if it is in the 1D waveguide. Okay, so you need to have a discrete solution that should satisfy this equation. Whenever you are considering only TE polarization, you have to consider the phase relationship coming out of only for TE. Here also you have to consider TE. And if you want to get a solution for TM, then you have to use the expression for the TM, this phase. As I said that normally homogeneous case, the K1, this one will not be changed. Homogeneous isotropic case, N1 will not be changed. But upon total internal reflection, TE and TM will give you different phase. So in that case, you will be getting different solution. Right? So TE and TM will give you two different type of solution. So those corresponding values actually, what does it mean? That means your K1x, basically it will be discretized. You can say that M, it will be discretized something like this. If lambda is fixed, this is N1, and if I consider also refractive index is also lambda independent, then I can say that K1x equal to cos theta I M, because whatever theta I M you will be getting, that will be your transverse component. Okay, this is the that is discretized now. That means your tangential component of the wave vector, that means x component, is actually discretized to satisfy this condition. So when it is guiding, that guiding wave will not have any arbitrary x component. K1x cannot be arbitrary. It should be well defined, discretized. So now, if you just consider that x component is discretized, what does it mean? You know, K1x and K1z. So K1x, when it is discretized, you know what is the value of K1? So K1 will be, K1 square will be equal to nothing but K1x square, K1 z square. So when this K1 is fixed, right? This is actually what? This is actually equal to 2 pi times lambda N1, right? 2 pi by lambda and then square. Now, since this is discretized, that means it has a discrete value. K1x is discrete value. That means K1z also will become discrete value because this is a constant. So that means K1z also discretized. So that means I will get longitudinal component and transverse component. They are actually related by this formula. So that means I can say that something here, this is 2 pi by lambda N1 cos theta I m, cos theta I m square plus 2 pi lambda n1 sine theta im, because theta im, when theta im is discretized, so this is also discretized. So that means this one should be equal to this one. That formula has to be maintained. Okay, you can just consider, that means ultimately what you are getting, cos theta im square and plus sine theta sine square theta im, that equal to 1. So that is a normal trigonometric formula. So when cos component is discretized, that means sine component must have to be discretized to maintain that sine square theta plus cos square theta equal to 1. Any question? So now what we say, that we have 2 times 2 pi by lambda n1 cos theta im, right, times d minus phi u theta im minus phi, or lower, first lower or upper, whatever you write, theta im, that should be equal to 2 m pi. Don't forget to write polarization. Which expression you will be using? If you are using upper is for TE polarization, lower is also you have to use expression for the TE polarization. So this is the condition. Then we have to solve theta im. What are the values of theta im? How to solve? We have, this is something, if you see here theta im is there, and this is something weird type of equation, you know that. What is phi um for TE phase? That will be equal to, what is the value? 2 times tan inverse, right? What is that? N2, right? Here N2 means which one? In uppercase, it is N3. And N1 by N3 square sine square theta im minus 1 by N1 cos theta im. And if I just consider phi LTE, that will be equal to 2 times tan inverse, lower means what is the refractive index? N2. It can be N1 equal to N2, N2 equal to N3. So here we will be writing N1 divided by N2. You just note down here N3 and here N2. Sine square theta im minus 1 divided by N1 cos theta im. You remember that here in this equation theta im, and in this equation theta im I am putting same, because when total internal reflection taking place, whether it is upper interface or lower interface, the angle will be same. Theta im should be same. So here if you see this angle, as I say that this is theta I, this is also theta I. Okay, this is theta I and this is also theta I. So that has to be maintained in the both the equation. But in both interface, your refractive index boundary is different. That's why here we are writing N1 by N3 and here we are writing N1 by N2. That is for TE. And for TM correspondingly you have to use, right, different. This will be N1 by N3 and this one will be N1 by N2. That is the difference. Okay. So now you see this is a theta im is there, this is theta im and this is the theta im. My intention is that how to solve this theta im. Can you do that? How will you solve this? Can you find a good expression of theta im, analytical expression out of it?
So we'll try using MATLAB.
Yeah, so it is actually, it is very difficult to find an analytical equation. It's kind of a transcendental equation. Okay, so you you can, what you can do, you can just write in this form, this equation. You can write your 2 times 2 pi by lambda n1 cos theta im, right? Cos theta im d. D will be there. That should be equal to your 2 times tan inverse, say n3 square root of n1 by n3 square sine square theta im minus 1 divided by n1 cos theta im, okay, plus right hand side I am putting 2 times tan inverse n2 square root of n1 by n2 square sine square theta im minus 1 divided by n1 cos theta im plus 2m pi, right hand side. So this is your right hand side, and this is your maximum. You can do like this, right and left hand side. So both sides you have theta im, and you have to solve for, you will have infinite series of equation. M equal to 0, you will be getting one equation to solve. M equal to 1, you will be getting another equation to solve. M equal to 2, you will be getting another equation to solve, and that will give you theta I0, and that will give you theta I1, and that will give you theta I2. Different solutions you will be getting, and you can keep on solving that infinitely. Infinite number of solutions you will be getting. So it is very easy to solve this using a MATLAB program. So what you have to do, you just plot this expression. This is also theta I as a function of theta I. This is also right hand side also function as a function of theta I. So what you can do, normally you know that earlier days we used to do 2 equations. If it is not, you cannot get really analytical solutions. So you can do left hand side you plot a graph, and right hand side you plot a graph with the same variable as a x-axis. Then where it is actually intersecting, that will be your solution. So in the MATLAB, you can also plot this one, and you can plot this one. Then you can get your where at which theta im, at which theta I value it is actually intersecting. For m equal to 0, you will be getting one solution, m equal to 2, and so on. Okay. So this is what I will be continuing. This is something, it is looking very simple actually, but you should appreciate that we are not compromising anything so far. Only assumption is that we are considering something like that ray picture, planar plane wave propagation. Only one ray we are considering. Otherwise, it is following directly Maxwell's equation. So whatever results you will be getting, actually that is actually perfect result. But this has some kind of limitation to explain certain things. That's why we need to go for direct solutions. I will discuss that later. But for visualization purpose, understanding purpose, you cannot ignore this. This type of understanding you need. First, you need this to understand integrated optics. Then we can go anything. I think you can read textbook. You can understand everything by your own. Okay, I will continue from here. I will be going a little slow this point, and then once it is done, then I can go a little more faster. Any questions till now?
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
Sir, while solving the assignment problem 1, that phi as a function of theta I observed that we are getting different curve for TM wave and TE wave, and
Yeah.
the result that the phase change for TM wave is larger than the TE wave when theta is belongs to theta C and 90 degree.
Sure.
Sir, what is the physical interpretation of that?
Boundary condition, I said. Is because T and TM, for TM, you have normal component of the electric field. But for T, you don't have normal component for the electric field. So normal component has a different type of boundary condition. Right? You have to consider the displacement vector.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Now
That is what I discussed. Na? That is the reason it is actually expression is different. your expression is also different. That's why you are getting different. How you get this different expression? Because you have used that different boundary condition. Your Fresnel's equation itself is different for T and Tm. So from there, actually, you are getting this different phase. You see, when I just explain in the class, looks easy, and you are maybe listening and everything going over your head. But when you plot, actually, you are actually thinking that why it is something like that. That's why it is good to work out. Just plot some MATLAB program, and if you are not knowing MATLAB, you learn very quickly and just plot and see. We have to submit anyway that thing. So here also, I suggest you consider N1. Okay, N1 equal to say 3 point. One more assignment you consider 3.46, and N2 equal to 1.46, N3 equal to 1.00. So this is another assignment. Just try doing that assignment. Okay, this is number 3 assignment, right? We have given 2 assignments, right? 2 problems.
Sir, that was given as a single assignment with 2 problems.
Okay, that is so this may be 2 then. Okay, so this is, you consider N1, N2, N3. These are the refractive index, and you consider a monochromatic wave, plane wave, lambda equal to 1550 nanometer. Okay, right? And then you try to find, and you consider D equal to say 500 nanometer. D means that whenever I'm considering this thing, this is actually D. Core region is, thickness is D. 1D planar waveguide. Are you noting down? Lambda equal to 1550 nanometer, D equal to 500 nanometer. Then try to get solution. How many solutions you will be getting for theta I? Theta I0 and theta I1, theta I2, and so on. You just keep on solving, right? And you will obviously you will find that this theta I, that value, that will be, which one will be higher, by the way? Theta I0 or theta I1 or theta I2?
Theta I0.
How you know that?
Sir, without this phase, we solved this equation previously. Sir.
We have solved also. Okay, now you solve this. You try to find out. Yeah. So which one is becoming higher? You are getting discrete values. For m equal to 0, you will be getting theta I 0 and theta I1. So you will be getting that this theta I0 is higher, and then this one will be higher, and it will be just descending order. You will be getting solutions. Okay. So that means theta I will be maximum value, theta I0. Then theta I will be smaller, smaller, smaller. Then what is the smallest value you will be getting? What is that smallest value you can get? We try to find. What could be that smallest value of, you are saying that you can get infinite solutions, right? But all these infinite solutions are not acceptable. It is not feasible, you will find. Just you think about that, and then you try to find this type of solution for both TE polarization and TM polarization. At least you just try for TE polarization maybe. And let me know. Tomorrow we'll start from here, from this assignment. Once you plot this one, and I will ask you that what is your answer, and based on that I will move to next class. Okay? Any question? If not, I can stop now today.